really interesting fight at lightweight. We have Leonardo Santos taking on Grant Dawson. Who would have ever thought that 41-year-old Leonardo Santos would fight another prospect? Well, I did, you did, and everybody at home probably did. For Leonardo Santos, one of the craziest careers of all time. I mean, this has been one of my bugaboo type of guys that I always keep on my list of, you got to watch out for this guy, like Claudio Silva. When's he going to fight? I don't know, but Leonardo Santos is active once again, and if you look at his last number of fights, he had the huge win over Stevie Ray after about 3 years away, knocked him out in the first round. His last time out, he picks up a big win against Roman Bogatov, a guy who was one and done like Zion Williamson in college. But the fact is, Roman Bogatov really punched his ticket out of the UFC for illegally kneeing Leonardo Santos twice in the nuts in the third round, and then in the head in the third round, so much so that Mark Goddard took 2 points. And if you look at the judges' scorecards, honestly, it was probably 29-25 because I gave Santos a 10-8 in the second round because he beat the hell out of Bogatov. Pretty much had him finished. Mark Goddard had a weird night that night. Leonardo Santos looked pretty good for the first 2 rounds, and in the second one he got it, but he got tired. Really, it's a 9-8. But if you know Leonardo Santos, here's 2 things. 7-time world jiu-jitsu champion, hellish right hand, and if he wants to put everything together for the first round and second round, he'll incorporate a lot of calf kicks. It's really weird to see a guy that's this far in life have this new school approach to the way that he fights. And that's why I really like Leonardo Santos. You look at the win streak that he's on. He's got a finish win over Kevin Lee. He's got a submission win over Rocco Martin. He's beaten a decent level of competition. And if you really want a deep cut, his pro MMA debut was way back in 2002, June 29th to be exact. It was at Shuto Treasure Hunt 7. And he fought Takanori Gomi. And he lost. How crazy is that he's still fighting now?
It's insane. The fact that he is 41 years old, still fighting prospects in the UFC is absolutely just absurd to me. And the fact that Kevin Lee fight was a long time ago too, and everyone brings up, oh, he knocked out Kevin Lee. He hasn't fought a ranked guy since then, and you would assume that he'd had that opportunity at least at some point. This fight is what I've been asking for, though, because Grant Dawson can't keep on beating featherweights weighing in at 150 pounds, and finally, he's going to be fighting at 155 pounds, which is the weight class that he belongs in A, because he just can't make 145, it seems, anymore. But I do think that at this stage in his career, just in life, really, you're going to grow, and 155 is much more suited for his body type. He's a very heavily muscled guy for the weight class, and I do think he'll fit into this weight class quite well, because he is still quite young. His ground game is absurd, though. The ground and pound, the submission ability, just... He doesn't do everything Khabib does, but he has a very Khabib-esque style, where all Grant Dawson wants to do is get you to the ground and pound you until he can open up a submission. And that's what's so fun about this fight, because Santos isn't a guy you just go out there and, oh, I'll take him down with a double leg and we'll see what happens. Not a guy you want to play around with the ground. Here's the thing, though. Being 41 does have some drawbacks, and those drawbacks come by way of cardio. And if you're a guy like Grant Dawson, I'm not saying you should go for the takedown all the time, because I don't think on the ground's where you're going to win this fight. But if you go for the takedown just to make Santos work to get back up to his feet, just make him work to get back up to his feet. Age will play a factor at a certain point, and if you're a guy like Grant Dawson, youth is on your side, and the power's on your side too. If you can just make Santos work from the second this fight opens until it stops, you're going to put yourself into a great position to win. My issue is Grant Dawson, not that he gets trigger happy on the feet, but sometimes he will stand at range a little bit to set up his takedown. Not the place you want to be standing with old Leonardo Santos.
So Leonardo Santos, like I said, has a good right hand, and it's a laser all the way through, and it cracks. Like, this guy, forget about the age factor. Let's just call it what it is. The guy can still strike very well.
Oh, man, strike.
And again, he has a new school style being an older guy. See, I fell into the trope. It's my fault. He has decent takedowns, but when he gets taken down, listen, I mean, it's not like he's a fish out of water. He is very adept on the ground. For Grant Dawson, his boxing's not great. Let's just call it what it is. And he gets happy, like you said, where he just wants to run in, start to really brawl, and he can get clipped, and we saw it. Nadneri Mani even clipped him a couple of times. You look back, Derek Minner, not so much. Minner, actually not that bad at featherweight. So, hey. But for Grant Dawson, weighed 149.5 in the fight against Minner. In the fight against Narimani, it was a catch weight at 150 pounds. This one's at 55. And you talked about his build. Grant Dawson's built kind of like the Tasmanian Devil. It's all upper body with very slight of waist.
Dorito.
Like, he's probably a 29 waist if I was guessing what his jeans were. I mean, he's what, 5'10"? I think that's a pretty good guess. But if I'm focusing on this fight, great top pressure. And when he's on top, he doesn't leave many things open. He keeps his arms nice and tight, and he keeps his head in position. And you see that with certain fighters. Again, I hate to use an example week over week, but Tim Elliott, when he fought Jordan
You gotta
Espinoza,
stop.
we're riding it with the forearms. We're putting our head in his face and into his chin.
I'm
We're
going to
really
push back
causing
on that a
issues.
bit, though. Grant Dawson causes much more damage to people on the ground than Tim Elliott does.
But that's the point. Let me finish my point. Grant Dawson causes a lot more damage, but even when he's not raining down blows, he's just trying to wear on you and to tire you out. I think that helps him a lot in this fight. Now, I've been a Leonardo Santos guy for as long as I can remember. Grant Dawson has an opportunity in this fight. I mean, he's more than a 2-1 favorite in this fight. And if we do talk about the odds, open to minus 185, he's now a minus 212 or thereabouts on best fight odds. If you look at Leonardo Santos, open to plus 160, now plus 172. The money is on Dawson, 813 total Tapology votes, 70% with Dawson, 73% by decision. It's easy to say where on Leonardo Santos, because, I mean, look at the guys that he's fought. I mean, Stevie Ray got knocked out. Roman Bogatov tried to wear on him, worked in the third round, even though he cheated a little bit. He kind of did the old Eddie Guerrero. He lie, he cheat, he steal. And then he's out of the UFC. But it's easier said than done to beat Leonardo Santos. Grant Dawson does have a style that you would think would incorporate itself well to get a win here.
I don't just think it's going to. Hot take, Grant Dawson's going to destroy Leonardo Santos. And I know that's your guy, and I do not like saying it, but let's just call it what it is. You have the young, up-and-coming prospect who's way more physically strong, who has the wrestling advantage. Here's the problem. Santos can't get this fight to the ground if he wants to. He has good wrestling, but he's not going to go out there and out-wrestle Grant Dawson. Grant Dawson can decide when this fight's going to take place on the mat or when it is going to take place standing. Now, for Dawson, you probably don't want it standing all that often, and I understand with Leonardo's background, you would think, oh, don't take him to the ground. Grant Dawson is not dumb enough to get caught in an armbar by Santos off his back. He does have very good top pressure, and he's going to make you pay for being on the ground. So while you are trying to set up submissions and whatnot, he's constantly going to be getting off ground and pound, and that will wear on you. And for Santos, we've seen cardio be a bit of an issue. It's not his fault he's 41 years old. Like, time happens. There's nothing he can do about it, and it's not his fault the top-level guys don't really want to fight him because he's a dangerous guy who's not the ranking. But at a certain point, the prospects are going to catch up to that veteran, and I think this is going to be that fight. I like Grant Dawson a lot in this one.
I've got Grant Dawson as well. I wouldn't say a lot, but I do like the matchup because, again, Santos has an opportunity in this one. It's not bad matchmaking by any means, and you look at the ways that he can get a win. Again, he can outbox Grant Dawson in the first round. I don't think that's a crazy thing to say. You see it from Grant Dawson where he'll throw a head kick, he'll throw those flying knees, he'll throw flying knees to close distance. He can get hit by a straight shot on one of those fairly easily. But if you push Santos with his back up against the cage, you can really start to wear on him, take him down. He has a hard time getting back up when he's pressed back up against the cage. And I think that feeds into a Grant Dawson win. So I'm going with the guy at Lee's Summit, Missouri, representing Glory MMA and Fitness. We're both going with Grant Dawson to get the win. But man, my guy, Leonardo Santos, you never know, those crafty vets. Really looking forward to this card. We have a crafty vet in the main event. You have Derek Brunson taking on the young up-and-comer Kevin Holland. Let's keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks, Matt. As we always say, let's get into it.